Hey everyone, welcome. Hope you're having a fantastic week so far. Yeah, I'm experimenting with the preview stuff a little bit. I'm gonna probably make some changes there, but you know what? It's all about experimentation, trying new things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, things like that. So, we are going to talk today about the use of communication when exerting power or in environments where power is an issue. And I've got news for you. When it comes to workplace communication, power is always in the environment. It is always a contextual element to what's going on. And we're going to talk about that in depth today so that you can understand where you exert power, you do, and where others exert power over you. And I want to call one thing out very specifically. It's important to understand where others exert power over you, because trust me, there's any number of people out there that would be more than happy to do your thinking for you, to make your decisions for you, and to take your work and apply it to their goals. And you do this through the use of power. So it's important to understand where others are exerting power over you so that you can autonomously and deliberately decide where to apply your work and where not to, so on and so forth. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So we have here communication and the use of power. All right, let's play with this idea. So first of all, let's remind ourselves of what the definition of internal communication is, okay? The whole point of this lecture series, the whole point of this class is internal business communication. What is it? Okay. It's to inform, influence, and affect the attitudes, feelings, and behaviors of those in the organization to meet business objectives. Okay? So, for example, we're in an organization. You and I, we're in an organization. It's called a class. It's a course. This is an official course of Salt Lake Community College, part of the, USHE, Utah, higher education, blah, blah, blah. We're in an organization. I am trying to influence you to do the assignments, take notes through the lectures, do well on the projects and so forth, so that we can meet business objectives. What are our business objectives? We want A's, right? We want good grades. That's the business objective. That truly is my business objective as well, because in giving you A's, I'm saying, yeah, you understand the material, you can go out into the real world and use it, apply it, make money with it, do good things for society with it. Okay, so here's the thing though. By its very definition, communications infers leadership and power. All right? Because if we are influencing and affecting the attitudes, feelings, and behaviors of those in the organization, that means that we are exhibiting some level of leadership and influence and power. All right? It's just the two are inextricably linked. But here's the thing. Power is a loaded word, right? I mean, if somebody were to say, I want more power, you might have a strange response. It might be like, wow, what are you, a control freak? Or you want to use others? Or what are you, a sociopath? Megalomaniac? I want more power. On the other hand, if somebody were to say, I want more influence and autonomy in my life, you're like, hell yeah. Well, why do you think I'm in school? I want more influence and opportunities as well. Same thing. Same thing. Power is like fire. It is amoral. which means it is neither moral or immoral. It's neither good nor bad. It just is. It's all about how power is applied. Just like fire can be applied to great, wonderful things, well, power can be applied to great, wonderful things or horrible things. So you want more power. That's why you're in school. You want more power because you want more influence, you want more autonomy, you want to be able to pursue better opportunities, you want more job security. You want to have a seat at the table, right? So remember that as we talk about power. Okay, so let's keep going. Power also means leadership. All right. If somebody has power over somebody else, then to a certain degree, not in all cases, right? We're talking moral, we're talking ethical use of power. We're not talking manipulation, we're not talking force, we're talking about the ethical use of power. Then to a certain degree, leadership applies here as well. Now, I want to take a moment and define leadership. For a moment, it's going to seem like I'm saying the most drop-dead, stupid, obvious thing in the world, but bear with me. A leader is one who influences others to attain goals. Okay? A leader is somebody who says, hey, we want to attain these goals. I'm going to try to influence you and give you the tools and resources and training and motivation and mentorship and support that you need to attain these organizational goals. That's what a leader does, okay? And obviously, the greater the number of followers, the greater the influence that leader has. All right. Now, like I say, leadership, power, and communication are inextricably linked. One cannot lead without power and without communicating. Now, here's one more thing about leadership. I know this sounds obvious, but bear with me. Leaders are defined by followers. In other words, you cannot be a leader if you do not have followers. You with me? Somebody can say, I'm a leader, but if nobody's following that person, they're not a leader, despite what they might say. But now, the reverse is true as well. If followers say that person is our leader, that person can't say, I'm not a leader. I'm not a leader. No. It's not for you to decide. It's for the followers to decide. When I was younger, years and years ago, Charles Barkley was one of the big basketball players. And Charles Barkley was kind of a controversial figure. And he even did this whole, he was controversial. And so people admired him and looked up to him. But then parents said, hey, you're not being a good role model for our kids and so forth. And he actually even did a Nike commercial where he said, I'm not a leader. I'm not an example. That's not who I am. And my thought was, that's not for you to decide. You don't get to decide if you're an example, if you're a leader. Others, your followers, decide whether or not you're a leader or an example. So, strange thing, leadership. You can't pursue it unless followers allow you to. And you can't get away from it if followers won't allow you to get away from it. So, okay. All right. So there's some background. All right. Now, this is what we're going to do, folks. I want you to take notes, okay? Because at the end of my spiel about different types of power and so forth, I'm going to ask you for stories and examples. And that's when we're going to start racking up our points. Oh, right over here, right over there. That's when we're going to start racking these things up, right? So this is what I want you to think about as we talk about this. How you influence others. I want to be really clear about this, and I want to be so clear when I come up here. You are a leader. You have power. The purpose of this exercise will be to help you understand where you exercise leadership and where you exert power. But trust me, you are a leader and you have power. All right? So, how you influence others. Take notes on those. Also, take notes on how others influence you. And as you do so, take note of the types of power. We're going to talk about 6 different types of power. And I want you to identify what types of power you exert in your business communication, including friends, family, school, things like that, and where others exert it over you. Okay? So, first of all, why do you listen to me? I mean, we've got 9 or so folks on this live stream right now. You're going to start taking notes like I asked you to. You do the assignments. You participate in this, gamification sort of process that we have. Why? Why do you listen to me? So we're going to go ahead and take a couple of minutes to give you a moment to chime in. Any and all answers are correct. Okay? Any and all answers are correct. Why do you listen to me? Let's play with this for a while. Okay, very good. Let's look at these, and I'm going to make a few notes here for us, right? By the way, and we'll mark up the points, but you're going to have your 10 right away. Okay, so first of all, Anastasia says, because I'm assuming, I like that, studied so you can teach and you can trust that you're giving us good, reliable info. So I have some expertise. Okay, so I have some level of expertise. Braden, I think from a power standpoint, you control my grades. Absolutely. I am in the whole, I control the points, right? So you want points, you want good grades. I'm kind of the gatekeeper there. Very good. Let's see, easier way to accomplish achievement, right? You have your own goals, very good. Obtain knowledge to better my business knowledge and, get a good grade, better your career, says Bryce, good. Drew, to learn new competencies, ideas, to get a better grasp of pre-existing ones. Jacob, by taking the class, I accept that you've had something to teach me and that could contribute to my future. Very good. Once again, expertise, a lot of these are referring to, right? I listen to you because you have information that I don't. Information that you think is important, says Liz, or that Liz says is important. Riley, because we assume you know what you're doing. Kind of hoping to get something out of it. Yeah, right? And then Matt, good ethos as a teacher, according to the rate my professor and so forth. Right? Okay, great. This is good. The vast majority of the comments came under the heading of, you have expertise that I want access to, and you have points that I want access to. You want the points, right? Vast majority of the comments pointed that direction. So with that, let's move that bad boy out of the way. I know it does funky things to the sound. I apologize. So right away, by the way, and I'm just going to play and go backwards on this. So we have got, no. We've got 10 contributors, and we had 10 awesome comments. And I'm going to go ahead and say that a few of those, you're kind of referring to some real world examples. Let's get a little more specific in the real world examples. Trust me, you're going to get specific in the real world examples when you take notes on different types of power. So we're going to rack that up. But you know what this means. First of all, congratulations. We've got our 10s already racked up there. So you know the deal. Send me an email, timestamp of, gosh, golly, what time is it? There it is. It is 8:47, okay? So send me an email that just says 8:47, and I'll totally take care of you, okay? Yes, thank you. Put it in there. We're in good shape. All right, so let's play with this. First of all, remember I said there's six. There are 6 types of power, but they're in 2 categories: formal power and personal power. Each has 3 types of power. So let's first look at the 3 types of formal power, okay? So with that in mind, the first one is called legitimate or position power, all right? Legitimate or position power just simply says, hey, look, on an org chart, you're the top, I'm down here, ergo, you have legitimate or position power over me. So let's take this class for a moment, right? So this is a formal organization, Salt Lake Community College. This accredited body has bestowed upon me the position of professor, right? And you are signed up as students. Therefore, in this organization, professor and students, I have legitimate, meaning an organization gave it to me, or position, meaning I'm over you in an org chart, power, okay? Now, here's the thing. Yes, Riley, this is exactly like the manager of a job, at a job. Exactly, okay? So, if you have a formal manager, if you have a supervisor, that sort of thing. Now, here's the thing. A lot of us, and Riley, you're probably thinking about this, when we think of work and power, it tends to be that our mind immediately goes to position power because they're the boss. However, I submit to you that position power is the least effective type of power we are going to talk about today. Least effective. Let me show you why I believe that. Right now, I have position power. Oh, yeah, feel that power, right? Come the middle of December, poof, it will evaporate. Sure, you might do as I ask and do the assignments and give me comments and so forth, and I truly do appreciate it. I really do. But you're doing that because I have things that you want and I have position power and so forth. But come next year, come January, you won't give me the time of day unless I do some other things, which I will do. I'll show you, right? But if all I do is say, I'm the professor, I'm going to get zero respect, right? You'll go ahead and make the right noises and say, oh, yes or 3 bags full and do the assignments. But I'm not going to get your respect. I'm not going to get your support. It's just not an effective type of power, right? And so it's often where we go to first, but it's the least effective. All right, so does that mean there's more effective stuff out there? Yeah, but let's stay with formal power for a moment. Now, the second thing that comes up in formal power is reward power. I have the ability to give you something you want. Therefore, you will do as I ask because you want what I have to give you. And what is that? You guys said it. It's the points. It's the grades. You're not going to do the assignments if there aren't points or grades or GPA or credits that you can transfer to another institution. You wouldn't do any of this. There's actually something out there called Moocs. We'll go ahead and... A Mooc is a massive open online course. Massive open online course, or massive online open course. One of those O's, right? And big, huge universities, I mean, we're talking Harvard, right? They will offer these courses and they're free. They're free and they're really good courses. And so you go in, you sign up for a Mooc, massive open online course, and and they give you assignments and so forth. I got news for you, folks. I've signed up for them before and I always drop them. I don't care. I'll learn the stuff when I want to learn it on my own way. When they started giving me assignments, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do the assignments because there's no points, there's no credit, there's no transferring to other institutions. I can learn this stuff on my own later on when I want to, right? So that's reward power. Now remember, everyone, quick reminder, I'm asking you to think of ways that you have position power or legitimate power in your life. Think beyond work. Think family. Think school. Think friends. And where do you have reward power in your life? And who holds these over you? Okay. All right, let's keep going. Coercive power. Coercive power is the opposite of reward power. I have the ability to take away something you want, right? You have it. I have the ability to take it away. So in my position, what do I have the ability to take away? You know what? I could take away this, right? This extra credit. I don't need to do that. I like doing it. Don't worry. I'm not being an ass just to, it's for effect. Right? I could take it away. Now, you say I could take away points. I don't believe that I have the right to take away points that you have earned. Just as an employer says, you did a really crappy job today, you've pissed me off, give me your paycheck from last week. They can't do that. I can't take away points that you've already learned. However, I could take away extra credit opportunities, such as these live stream things here. I could take that away, and that's pretty nice, right? I could take away extra credit points or the opportunity to earn extra credit. And that may not be a lot right now, but at the end of the semester, it's always nice knowing that's there, right? Bosses can take away flexible schedules. They can take away benefits and so forth. So there are things that are like, hey, listen, I really need you to do this. If you're going to get that week off next week, I really need you to step up this week because we've got to make up for this lost time. And it's like, well, I really want that week off and I don't want you to take that away, so I'm going to do it. Same thing with a job, right? I need you to shape up and meet these indicators or we're not going to be able to keep you on. Well, I don't want you to take away my job, so I'm going to shape up and meet the indicators, okay? That's coercive power. Now, these things, as I said, are examples of formal power, position or legitimate power, reward power, and coercive power. They are all rooted in an institution. The only reason I have any of these things is because we are in this organization called a class, called a course. But the moment the semester is over, I lose all of this power. I lose it all, right? And therefore, it's fleeting and it's fickle. Well, what can we do instead or in addition? Well, now we talk about personal power. Personal power is much longer lasting. It has staying power, real staying power. And it is not tied to an institution. It is not tied to an organization. Personal power follows you your entire life. It can't be taken away unless you take it away yourself by being awful, right? And losing reputation. So let's talk about personal power. First, expert power. Now, this was the other one that you guys, I'm pointing to the whiteboard there, right? This was the other one you guys brought up. You said, hey, listen, I want grades. That's reward power rooted in formal power. But you also said you supposedly know what you're talking about, and you have skills and experience and expertise that I can use in the workplace. So yeah, right? I can help guide your career. I can do career coaching. I can help you with communication issues. I can help you find jobs, write resumes, interview skills, negotiating a raise, all kinds of things, leadership skills. I have this expertise. And it's not boasting to say it. I'm good at one or two things. This happens to be the one or two good things I'm good at. So it's powerful, not just because we're in class, but throughout your entire career. Throughout your entire career, you're going to look for mentorship. You're going to look for coaching. You're going to look for leadership training. You're going to look for insights. I have that, right? In the same way you have that. Remember, you're taking notes. Where do you have expert power? Now, one way I like to talk about expert power is, you know how in every organization there's a way you're supposed to do things. Oh, well, if you want something done, you talk to Margaret because she has access to Mark, and Mark has access to Lisa, and Lisa's the one who has to do it, but you have to fill out 14 forms, and you're like, you know what? I'm just going to go to Erica because Erica knows everything, and she can cut through all that nonsense, and she can get stuff done. Are there people where you work or where you have worked, or maybe you are the person who they're like the go-to person? Whenever there's a question, whenever you're unsure about something, whenever you need to get something done, you just go to that person because they know things, right? This is an example of expert power. Now, I'm going to take a moment and tell you my favorite story on expert power. It was from years ago when I worked at Intel Corporation, and we worked for HR, and one of my employees, I'll call him Bob, okay? Bob was the lowest person on the totem pole, all right? He worked for me, and I'm like the second lowest person on the totem pole. Anyway, I had several employees, and Bob was lowest of them all. And he really only had one job. His job was to take care of this. It was to send emails. Now, that sounds, and it is, overly simplistic. Remember, Intel had, at the time, like close to 90,000 employees. And you can't just send an email to 90,000 employees. What if you want to send an email to employees in Malaysia who are engineers, who have been with the company for less than a year and are married and going to school? How do you parse out who those people are? Well, we had a piece of software that'll do that. And it would allow you to put in all the criteria of who you wanted to email, not by name, but by demographics. And Ed could then send an email to this particular population. Target marketing, segment. Well, here's the thing though, folks. This software was awful to use. It was horrible. It was painful. It was the most atrocious piece of legacy software you've ever seen. And everybody at Intel in HR needed to use it, but nobody did. Ed, I'm sorry, his name's Ed. It's not Bob, it's Ed. Ed was so good at using this software that others just gave up on it, and they would go to Ed and they'd say, hey, can you send this for me? Can you send that for me? Can you send this, that, and the other? And so his full-time job was just being really good with this piece of awful software. And so all he did was send emails. Okay. So, lowest guy on the totem pole. Come one day, and there's a project that is a big, big project for HR. It is so big, in fact, that the vice president of HR is going to kick off this project. The vice president's doing, yes, it was a nightmare, Drew. The vice president is kicking off this project. It's so important. And by the way, folks, this vice president, he was an ass. I mean, he was just an unmitigated SOB. He would fire you as much as quick as look at you. He is just an awful person to work with. So, he's kicking off this meeting. Well, on the day of the meeting, Ed sends an email saying, I'm not going to be able to make the kickoff meeting. My son is sick. But here's the thing. The vice president really needs that software, needs that ability to send those emails. So what do you think happened? Did the vice president say, you're going to come in or you're fired? No, he can't fire him. Ed is too expert, too important in a vital piece of software that this project will need to be successful. The vice president rescheduled the meeting. We're talking people all over the world. Hi, Mucky Mucks. He rescheduled it because Ed needed to be there, and Ed was the only one, regardless of the fact that he's on the bottom of the totem pole, he was the only one who knew how to use the software and could provide the insight needed to kick off this meeting. That is expert power. Okay? So this, by the way, you guys know, this is why you're in school. This is why you are adding to your expertise. Because if all you're doing is, quote unquote, flipping burgers, you're replaceable. But if you're an expert, you're not as easily replaceable. Okay, that's expert power. The next one is referent power. Referent power is just the power that you give somebody over you because you really admire them and you follow them. You want to be like them. It's often said that maybe your mother or your father has referent power. Yes, they have position power because they're mom or dad, but maybe you really look up to your father or really look up to your mother or your aunt, and you want to emulate them to some degree. You want to be like them to some degree. You want them to like you. Okay, so this is why there's celebrity endorsements, right? This is why there are celebrity endorsements, because we will buy the stuff they're endorsing because we want to be like them. I went to FanX the other day and I did something I've never done before in my entire life. I had my picture taken with Adam Savage, okay? I've never done that sort of thing before because I'm like, oh, what do I care? But I really admire Adam Savage. And, it happened so darn quick, I couldn't say boo or anything like that. But it's like this guy, whatever he recommends in terms of a tool, I buy it. And he doesn't get any money for this. And when it comes to techniques and mindset and how he approaches a project, I try to approach it the same way. What would Adam Savage do? That is referent power. And so there are people who, oh, look at that. I did some sort of funky thing there. There are people that you admire. There are people who admire you and want to be more like you and want to be liked by you. Okay? All right. Last one is network power. Having people in your network who others want in their own networks. Okay? So, for example, I am well connected here in Utah, especially with the tech industry and the HR industry. If you want to build a career here in Utah in the tech industry or HR, you want me in your network because I have people in my network that can help you out. Same way, if let's say that you text it right now and say, oh, I'm best friends with Adam Savage. All of a sudden, I'm going to be like, oh, wow, that's so cool. Can I meet him? All that sort of stuff, right? That's network power. Let's see. Now, Riley says, would that also be expert power to some sort, talking about referent power? Yes, if that's what you admire, right? So in the case of Adam Savage, I admire the way he approaches projects. It's taught me a lot. I admire what he does, how he does it. I admire how he's willing to make mistakes on camera and explain what he learned from the mistakes. Absolutely. Okay. But we can also admire people because of who they are, what they've done, what they've stood for, right? So if you admire Martin Luther King Jr., because of what he stood for, if you admire Elon Musk because he's, just exudes entrepreneurial spirit, it all depends on what you admire. Very good question, Riley. Very good. Okay, so now this is where I want to hear from you, and this is where we're going to rack up some real-world examples. Tell me, how do you influence others? And what type of power do you use to influence? And please be specific-ish, right? Don't just say, oh, I influence others because my friends like me, right? It's like, no, do they admire you? Is it referent power? Is it that you're really good at this video game and you're the one they always go to all the time? And that's expert power. If your sisters or little brothers admire you, what kind of power is that? So tell me what you've included in your notes, and we'll explore them. Okay, let's look at this. So Drew says, a little bit of referent power, maybe some expert power. In what way, right? Tell me a little bit more about that. For example, Anastasia, I teach dance to little kids, and they know that if they're good, the whole class can play freeze dance at the end of the class. Very nice. So you teach dance, so you have position power. You're good at dance, ergo, you have some expert power. You have reward power that you can give them this thing they like, and you have coercive power. You can take it away if they're not good. I love it. That's a great example. I have a huge staff, and I have to look after a monthly reward system where the best machinist gets, oh my gosh, 2-night sponsored trip to Vegas. Awesome. Position power, reward power. Superb example, right? Riley, so I'm on a soccer team and I'm one of the better players. I always try to hype my team to do better on and off the pitch. I think I have expert and network power. Yes. Okay. And maybe some referent power as well. You're among the top players, that's expert power. Network power in that you know how everything works on the team and so forth. And I would say some referent power because folks are like, boy, if we can really up our game and so forth, and people admire how you're doing that, I would throw that into the mix. Drew, friends and coworkers with referent power because of age and life experience. Folks come to me with questions first, regardless. Great example of expert power. Great example. Thank you, Drew. Of my connection to the topic, but also a little bit of expertise power because randomly they know I like to help. Very, very good. Very good. That's network power as well. Bryce, at work, I do have position power over 20 employees. And just like you said, it only gets you so far, man. It only gets you so far, right? I get a lot more out of the employees with referent power and, how they liked exactly. The best managers and the best professors, and it's not up to me to decide if I'm either. It's up to followers to decide. But the best managers, the best professors, the best leaders do not lead from a position of power, of the formal types of power. They lead from a position of expertise, referent, network, and just being able to inspire people to do their very best for themselves. So, absolutely. Bryce, let's see. Okay, no, we got that one. Only gets you so far. Help them move up. Yes, absolutely. So, guys, you did it. We're just, boom, taking this up to, we'll get there. I'm just going to take it up to 10 because you got some really good real-world examples there. And actually, I think we'll do a different one. We're going to go ahead and do, there we go. We'll do that one instead. You don't have to send a different email. I know which email it's referring to. So don't worry. You don't have to do that. Okay. Very good. Now, when you use all these types of power in the workplace, because remember, this is workplace communication, business communication. When you use this type of power in the workplace, you need to be conscious of the situation. This is where situational leadership comes into play. Situational leadership says, listen, you don't just apply one leadership theory to every single situation, right? You have to understand how to read the situation, how to read the context, how to read where the employees are and what they need, and then apply the right type of leadership. I want to be really clear. You already know that you don't need to be the boss to be a leader. You don't need to be the boss to be a leader. You can be somebody, you take the soccer player, right? Riley. Riley's not the coach. but he has a great deal of leadership potential on the team. You do not need to be the boss to be a leader. So when we talk about situational leadership here for just a few more minutes, don't think, well, when I'm a boss, I'll learn that. No. You don't need to be the boss to be a leader. Okay, so first kind of situation. Sometimes people don't have the information they need. All right? In which case, education and communication. Let me give you an example. Think about your first month on the job. I don't know where you work right now, but you work somewhere. Think about your first month on the job. You were lost. You were lost. You didn't know what to do. You didn't know how to do it. You didn't know who to do it for. You didn't know what success looked like. You didn't know what the expectations were. You didn't know what the policies were. You didn't know what the rules were. You didn't know anything. You had an extreme need for information. And if your company was worth anything, they got you this information through education and communication, providing the information you needed to perform your job. It wasn't just your boss who did it, though, right? You had coworkers who did it. You had mentors who did it. You had, other new employees who helped you do this. They were exercising situational leadership. Now, in the same way, at a certain point, you became good enough at your job that you didn't need people hovering around you all the time, telling you do this, do that, keep in mind of this, that, and the other, and don't forget this. You didn't need that micromanagement. And so at a certain point, as the situation changed, you were no longer an employee who needed information. You just needed to be left alone to do your job. And a good manager and a good leader, including your coworkers, know when to pull back and stop micromanaging you less and less, and just give and delegate the authority to you and the responsibility and let you take off with it. Okay? So that's one situation to consider when acting as a leader. Do you have people at work who are brand new? Are you helping them out? You are exercising this sort of situational leadership. Okay, next one. Sometimes folks feel excluded, right? A good leader, and I'm not saying boss, right? You're a leader too, whether you're a boss or not. A good leader knows how to include everybody. Good leadership, good management means making the whole greater than the sum of its parts. But in order to be greater than the sum of its parts, it needs all its parts included. And not everybody feels included. Some people feel excluded, okay? So you need to exercise a type of leadership that encourages participation and involvement, okay? Now, I want to tell you something. I find this fascinating. Riley, I'm glad that's cool for you, because I want you to embrace that. I want you to think about this. So this live streaming stuff I'm doing, right? I've ran the survey twice. And at the end of the semester, I run a survey that says, hey, because we were live streaming instead of in a lecture class, were you more likely, less likely, or the same likely to participate? Did the little point things that I do here, did they make it more likely, less likely, or the same likely for you to participate? Guys, you know what I found? And this is the data talking. What I found is that people are often more willing to participate online like this in chat than they are in the classroom. You know what it's like in a classroom. You know that there's like 3 people doing all the talking and everybody else is quiet. And there's some people you'd never get them to say a thing at all. I have found that this system that I'm using really encourages participation. And so this is where I am trying to exhibit a type of leadership that encourages participation and involvement. And you do the same thing, right? When you invite coworkers to come to this, do that, and so on and so forth. When you say, hey, let's go to lunch together and all that, that's encouraging participation and involvement. Okay? Let's keep going. Sometimes anxiety is high. Yeah, right? I mean, of all the times that I've never had to explain when anxiety can be high, right? Well, a good leader, which is you as well, facilitation and support. A good leader knows how to recognize the human side of our existence and provide the sort of support that the person needs to get through it. Sometimes this is emotional support. Sometimes this is just additional training support. Sometimes this is, time off support, right? There's any number of ways that a leader can provide support. I very often, as a teacher, I will very often get emails from students very concerned about their grades, about what's happening, about working in teams. I get these emails a lot. And I view my job then as facilitation and support, especially when it comes to our teams. My job, I made you a promise. I said that you were going to have the best team experience you have had thus far at Salt Lake Community College. That was a promise I made. I didn't say it would be easy. I didn't say it would be wonderful or fantastic. I just said it would be the best you've had thus far. Well, if I'm going to make good on that promise, I need to recognize that you guys are experiencing a certain level of anxiety because teams, remote, yeah, that's stressful. So facilitation and support is what I need to provide. Where do you provide facilitation and support? With your family, with your friends, with your teams, with your dancers, with your co-workers, with your employees, with your boss? Do you manage upward? Manage upward? Do you help manage your boss? Do you manage the manager? Think about that. Think about that. All right? And if you want to talk more about that, let's hook up because it's important. It's an important idea to wrap your mind around. All right. Hey, you know what? Sometimes people resist us when we practice leadership. And not only do they resist us, they are in positions of power and leadership themselves. So I can't just say, hey, you do it this way and that's it and so on and so forth. No, they can resist. All right, because they have power and influence in their own circles. They have expert power, they have referent power, they have network power with their coworkers and so forth. I need to then, and you need to negotiate and come to agreements, address the needs and concerns of those strong resistors. So, for example, a soccer coach, right, Riley? A soccer coach, parents, if they are resistors, they have position of power and influence. Customers, they have no formal power, but they're in positions of power and influence. This is why companies have to kind of lose their minds a little bit with social media, because now somebody who is a resistor is exercising power and influence, and we need to figure out how to get everybody on board. The customers with the company and the products, or the parents with the soccer team, or the parents with the dancers and so forth. So negotiation and agreement. You got to come to those, develop those skills. The last one, though, is sometimes there's no choice. When the organization is at risk and employees have few avenues to effectively resist explicit and implicit coercion, it's just going to happen, right? You see these guys, these firefighters down here? They're using this big old pry bar to open up this beautiful Porsche's door and so forth. I know they're just training, but here's the thing. If there's an accident on the road and somebody's stuck in a car and the car is at risk of blowing up in flames, the firefighters are not going to come along and knock on the window and say, "Hey, sir, so here's the deal. There's an accident on the road. You're in it right now. And there's fuel leaking from your fuel tank, and we're concerned that there may be a fire risk involved. And so we need to get your door open. But here's the thing, it's jammed because of the accident. So we're going to use these things called the jaws of life, and we want to open your door. But here's the thing, it's going to totally destroy your car and your door, right? And we don't want to go off and damage your personal property without first asking you." They're not going to do any of that, right? They're just going to come in, they're going to rip the door off, they're going to yank you out, and if you say, "Hey, look, you ruined my car," they're going to be like, "You're welcome." So when this time last year, or not this time last year, but last year when the school shut down and said all classes are going remote because of COVID, I was fine with it because I like doing this stuff. Right? But a lot of professors were not happy because they're not comfortable in this system, right? A lot of students were not happy. Well, we could all complain and moan and groan all we wanted, but no, the school's closed. This is what's happening. Deal with it, right? So Drew says, funny story about that. The back of my house caught fire when I lived in Virginia. And they were alerted, and they politely knocking at 2 a.m. Oh my gosh, politely knocking at 2 a.m. Well, I'm just going to say, Drew, if my house is on fire at 2 a.m., I don't want the fire department to politely knock. I mean, I want them blowing that, dousing that thing first, right? Anyway, great story. Great story. That's a great real world example. All right. So there you go, folks. That's power and influence. And I really want to invite you to embrace this idea that I've been pushing all along. But in summary, you have power. You have position power, reward power, coercive power, expert power, referent power, and network power. And you are a leader, regardless, irrespective of whether or not you are an actual manager in an organization, you are a leader. I invite you to really consider this and figure out where your power and your influence lie, because that's where you're going to be able to affect the greatest change and the greatest good for yourself, for those in your network, for those around you. Learn how to use your power in a good, positive, ethical way, right? Okay, so there you go, folks. We're all set. As always, I'm going to stick around and see if there are any questions. And don't forget to send me that email with the timestamp. And, well, until we talk again, have a fantastic day.